What's good, family? I hope everybody's afternoon is going well. So, IOBA, my name is TC, and this is the Awareness Channel. So now listen, if y'all hear some piano music playing in the background, some classical pieces, that's my wife in the background. She plays classical piano, and she's, working on some new stuff. So that's what y'all hearing. But what I wanted to talk about today was this. There is a diaspora war going on. And I feel like it needs to stop. And it needs to stop right now. You got people on the internet beefing about ADOS, FBA, versus the rest of the black nation. We are in no position to be fighting like that right now, especially not when Project 2025 is in full effect. Y'all remember Project 2025? It's in full effect. All of this mass deportation stuff that you see, that's Project 2025. There's a dude named Steve Miller. Steve Miller, y'all know who he is? He's a bald-headed white man, and he's deputy chief of staff to Donald Trump. And that's who really pushing this policy. Stephen Miller thinks that the United States population should be capped at about 100 million people. 100 million people, that's it. What you gonna do with the other 230, 240 million people that live here? You gonna let them die? You're gonna let them get sick and die because you're gonna take away their health care, or you're gonna make health care so expensive till nobody can afford it. You're gonna deport as many as you can, and you're gonna subjugate the rest. That's his plan. That's part of Project 2025 up in his mind. I don't know if that shit is actually written down anywhere, but that's what he's been known to say. Cap the United States population at 100 million people, and all of them should look like him. Stephen Miller. Now, Stephen Miller also is, in my view, the most hated man in the country since Dick Cheney. But not a lot of people know him. He stays behind the scenes. But every once in a while, he'll stick his bald ass head up and say something really, really crazy. And then he'll go back into the shadows. But that's who's pushing this agenda. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump will say something, and Stephen Miller is the one that go ahead and put that shit on steroids. Donald Trump said something the other day about getting rid of bad people who was born here. That's why he's trying to end birthright citizenship. He's trying to say that just because you were born here don't make you a citizen. He's trying to end that. I don't know how successful he's going to be, but the Supreme Court seems to be on his side pretty much. You know what I mean? Then there's Tom Homan, the border czar. That motherfucker came out and said that his ICE agents don't even need probable cause to come up and question somebody. And when they say question somebody, they mean take somebody and throw them in the back of that van and send them down to goddamn Everglades, Alligator Alcatraz. He said they don't need, lock everybody up and sort them out later. I guess that's the thinking. But that's all part of that Project 2025. That's a greasy ass bill. And by greasy, I mean that's a nasty ass piece of legislation. And a nasty ass platform. That's worse than the Patriot Act. You know what I'm saying? That's worse than the Project for a New American Century. That's far worse. Because it's about depopulation. You feel me? And that's what Stephen Miller and Tom Homan are pushing at the behest of Donald Trump. I'm starting to think more and more that Donald Trump is just a front man. But here's the thing too. Donald Trump, he got his own set of issues right now with this Jeffrey Epstein thing. I'm going to do another video on that. I did one, but I'm going to do another one. But he got his own set of issues with this Jeffrey Epstein thing. He'll probably make it through this. But if he doesn't, you got J.D. Vance and the rest of the Republican Party still pushing the same agenda. Just know that. If you get rid of Donald Trump, it doesn't necessarily mean you get rid of Project 2025. Just so y'all know that. And so I think we as black people are in no position to be arguing among ourselves. We shouldn't be arguing among ourselves like we are. Because at the end of the day, like I've said and like so many others have said, we are all we got. We are all we got. And they can roll up on any black person and question him and throw him in the fucking van. And then, you got to fight for your freedom later. You know what I mean? We need to be protecting ourselves against shit like that rather than arguing over, what we call ourselves. And then there's more. Here's the thing though. Donald Trump, right? And his vice president. Donald Trump is married to a straight up immigrant woman. His wife, Melania Trump, she ain't even got a mastery of the English language yet. I don't care what anybody says. And J.D. Vance's wife is a first generation American. Her parents came from India. She's just as brown as she can be. But yet they trying to whiten the country. Stephen Miller wants a population of 100 million people, all look like him. What are you gonna do with J.D. Vance's wife? And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with the director of the FBI? What are you gonna do with them Indians? We already talked about, Vivek Ramaswamy. What are you gonna do with J.D. Vance's people, in-laws? And in this white country that Stephen Miller wants, where everybody's living their life perfectly and, without drama. What, he won't need no police departments. He won't need no military. He won't need any of these things because there will be no crime and everybody will be living right and doing right and everybody will have money and it'll just be so beautiful. That's what Stephen Miller is aiming for? Is that what he thinks is going to happen? Because it ain't. Because the vast majority, if anybody really knows anything about crime, the vast majority of crime in this country is committed by white people. The vast majority of people who get arrested are white people. The only problem is the vast majority of people who go to jail are black people. And the ones you see on TV every night are black people. There's a difference. So you can make people think that, if you get rid of black people, you get rid of crime. No. The only way to get rid of crime is to get rid of humans. The only way to get rid of crime is stop writing so many fucked up laws. You know what I'm saying? Every time you write a new law, you create new criminals. Every time. But we as black people, back to us now, we as black people have to be careful with how we treat ourselves. Because we black Americans, we are, me and people from my generation, we was happy as hell when we found out that we could trace our genealogy back to a specific place in Africa. But a lot of Africans, not all, but a lot of Africans was disowning us and telling us, hey, y'all been in America for 300-400 years, 400-500 years. Y'all not African no more. But then at the same time, the Americans were saying you three-fifths of a human being and you weren't meant to be citizens. So you're not really Americans. So we was kind of out there. And then in modern times, nobody wanted to do with black Americans. Unless we were singing and dancing and playing sports. Didn't nobody want nothing to do with us unless we was entertaining them. So we separate ourselves. We give ourselves a name, any name would do. Black, African American, ADOS, FBA, multi-generational black American, whatever. We was searching to find an identity. You know what I'm saying? Because we was hated by the whites, we was hated by the Hispanics, we was hated by black people in the diaspora and everybody. But all we wanted, was an identity. So we make up one for ourselves. Or we still in the process of making up one for ourselves. We're not xenophobic. At least I'm not. At least no one I know is. The xenophobia was coming from the other way. I know this because I used to sit down and talk to people from other parts of the world, Africans and Jamaicans and stuff, when I was living in upstate New York, in Syracuse. Syracuse is a college town. Syracuse University sits right in the middle of it. People from all over the world come to Syracuse University, and they used to buy their groceries at the big supermarket that was sitting right outside the university, where I used to work and be a boss and a department manager. And I used to get to talk to all kinds of people from everywhere. Not to mention before that, 20 years of working in a factory with white folks, where me and 4 or 5 of us were surrounded by 300 or 400 whites. That's where all this comes from. And then you study and you read and you do that part of it too, but it's hands-on experience, baby. Nobody wanted nothing to do with American niggas. But we were searching. You know what I mean? And now, fast forward to now, when I try to tell people not to let Donald Trump back in the fucking White House, they're gonna tell me, well, Donald Trump is better for the economy. Donald Trump is just gonna deport illegal aliens. And when Donald Trump was president, I had more money in my pocket. Well, Donald Trump is president again, and you got less money in your motherfucking pocket. Donald Trump is deporting anybody who don't look white enough. And the economy is in the toilet because of these stupid tariffs that Donald Trump put in office. So how you feel about Donald Trump now? You dig me? So we was right all along about not allowing a man like him to get back in power. But there he sits. You feel me? So now what we got to do is we got to weather this storm. Because back to Stephen Miller, he can't have his way. No man who thinks like that should be allowed to have his way. By that I mean no man who thinks that you can eliminate 130, 140 million people so that you can have this white utopia, he shouldn't be allowed to have his way. And Tom Homan, the border czar, looking like a straight up shaved Neanderthal, because that's all he is. He shouldn't be allowed to have his own private army to run all up in people's motherfucking neighborhood and round up people. He shouldn't have that. That shouldn't even exist. in a place that calls itself the land of the free and the home of the brave. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at right now. I mean, because listen, in Black America, in Black America, we got to make sure that there are no soft targets. And there aren't any. Ain't no soft targets. That's the part I want to talk about next. Ain't no soft targets. If you get caught out there slipping, that's one thing. But ain't no real soft targets. If they get down to a point where it's just us left to deal with, they've deported all the illegal people from all parts of the world, and now it's time to subjugate the Black Americans, it ain't gonna be easy. It ain't gonna be like it was when y'all was running up in the town and burn out everybody. It ain't going down like that this time around. I hope they know that, because when you gather up your little Proud Boy militias and your little Oath Keeper militias and all that, and think you're gonna run up into a black neighborhood and just do what you want to do with the people, we know about the Second Amendment. And I'm going to leave that right there. Ain't no soft targets like that. So if we ain't who we used to be. Now, keep in mind also, as long as I'm on this talk, keep in mind also that back in the day, when them white boys used to do that, when they used to burn up a whole town and do these so-called massacres and whatnot, they took some losses along the way. They just don't get talked about and they don't get, publicized. But they took some losses. This is a whole different time. They're going to take some losses trying it again too. So that's where we at with that. Let that be all I'm going to say about that one. But that Second Amendment, that's real. That shit cut both ways. So when y'all get done wreaking havoc and running up on defenseless guys up at the Home Depot and think y'all can run down into the hood and do the same thing, you better come up with a better strategy. You better come up with a little bit better strategy. Because like I said, dude want to shrink the population down to 100 million people, and all of them look like him. That's what Stephen Miller said. So that's going to cause for a lot of deportations and mass incarceration and a lot of subjugation. A lot of it. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening at all. I think they'll self-destruct on the way. Anyway, I'm going to leave this conversation right there because I got another little subject I want to touch on, but I want to put it in a different video. Stop the infighting. Protect ourselves. This is the point. Stop the infighting. Protect ourselves. And realize Project 2025 is real, it's here now, and this is what they're trying to do. And arguing among ourselves is only furthering their cause. That's it for now, y'all. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button. I will catch y'all in the next one. TC, and I'm out. Peace.